Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuhu. By the name of Almighty God, the most compassionate and the most merciful. I mean Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. Today we are coming for this week question. We have a function which its domain is 0 to pi. It's an open interval and range is real number. It's a twice differentiable function, and also we have got this limit, and also we have this situation. These situations are given. Now which answer is the correct, or maybe which answers are correct? It means it's a multiple choice. You can choose one answer, two answer, three or four. Whenever you're looking to the answer, in answers we have f, also f prime, f2 prime, and also f. It means first we have to find the function. What's the function? Then according to the function we can find the solutions for the answers. In this two situation we have this limit. Now what do you think? In this limit, t is variable or x is variable? What's your answer? I think t is variable and x is a constant. It means we have to put instead of t, x. Now we have this one, fx times sine, and instead of t we have to put x, minus ft. Instead of t we have to put x, and also sine x, divided by, and instead of t, x minus x. I think denominator is 0 and this one is also 0. Now what do you think? How we can find the solution for this one? We can find the solution for this one by taking derivative of the numerator and denominator. Now by Hopitallah, I mean limit t approaches x. Now you have to find the derivative of the numerator. What's the derivative of the fx? It's a constant. It is fx, not 0. Why? Because it's in multiplication case. In subtraction, also in addition, the derivative of the constant is 0. So we have to put fx. Now this one is variable. What's the derivative of the sine? It's cosine. Cosine t, and the derivative of the t is 1, minus. What's the derivative of the ft? It's f prime t. And sine x, it's a constant in multiplication case, so we have to put sine x, divided by, what's the derivative of the t? It's 1, and x, it's in addition or subtraction, it's 0. The result is sine square x. Now you have to find this limit. Instead of t you should put x. It's fx times cosine, and instead of t we have to put x, minus f dash, and instead of t you have to put x, sine x, divided by what? 1, divided by 1 is equal to sine square x. Now I want to divide both sides by sine square x. We have fx cosine x minus f prime x sine x, divided by sine square x. Sine square x divided by sine square x, it's 1. Am I right? Yes. Now I want to divide both sides by negative 1. We will have this minus plus f prime x sine x, and this plus is minus fx times cosine x, divided by sine square x, and this one is minus 1. Can I write this one like f prime x sine x minus fx, and instead of cosine can I write sine prime x? Yes. Why? Because sine prime, it means the derivative of the sine is cosine, divided by sine square x is equal to minus 1. Now look, if you look to this situation, if this one is u, fx is u, and sine x is v, so we have u prime times v minus u times v prime divided by v square. I think this is the formula for d fx divided by sin x. It means, what's the derivative of this one? If this one is u and this one is v, then u prime times sin x minus sin prime times fx divided by sin square. It's minus 1. Now, how can I eliminate this d? We have to take integration. So, the integration of this one, d fx sin x integration of minus 1 dx. Minus 1 dx. Now, what's the integration of this one? It's fx divided by sin x is equal to, and what's the integration of this one? Minus x plus c. If we want to find this fx, fx is minus x plus c times sin x. Now, we have this situation. You have to put instead of x, pi upon 6. So it's f pi upon 6 is equal to minus, instead of x, you have to put pi divided by 6 plus c times sine pi divided by 6. And we have f pi divided by 6. It's minus pi divided by 12. And this one, minus pi divided by 6 plus c. And what's the sine pi upon 6? This one is, I think, 1 divided by 2. Now we have to we can divide both sides with 2. Or we should product 2 on both sides. Yes. Then we have this one, minus pi divided by 6, and this one 2 with 2 we can cancel. Now we have pi divided by 6 plus c. I have to put this minus pi upon 6 to the left side. So we have c equal to 0. Now when we find c, I will put in here. So we have fx is minus, instead of x, x, and instead of c, we have 0, and 0 plus minus x, it's minus x, and this one is with the sign we have in multiplication case. So minus x sin x. First, we found fx. In here, I put pi divided by 6 in order to find the c. When we find c, it means we have minus x, we have sin x, then we can find this fx. Now, by finding this fx, we can have the solution. Maybe the first answer, second answer, third, or fourth. Write it, we will come, inshallah, on the solution of the answers. Now, we have fx. Now, which answer is the correct one? First, we will check the first one. What's the first one? It means in function f, you have to put pi divided by 4, and the answer is pi divided by 4 root 2. Now, it means if instead of x, we have to put pi divided by 4 is equal to minus this x, we put pi divided by 4 sine pi divided by 4. What the solution is if pi divided by 4? It is pi divided by 4 root 2. Pi divided by 4 root 2. Is this one equal that what we find? We will check. What's the sign of pi divided by 4? It's 1 divided by root 2. Now pi divided by 4 root 2, is this one equal minus pi 4 root 2? No, they are not same. It means the first answer is wrong. I think you have got this one. Okay, come to the second answer. We have this situation in number 2. If x is equal smaller than x to the power 4 divided by 6 minus x square, is this one right or not? And we have the situation that for all x is given in the open interval of 0 to pi, this situation must be satisfied. How can we find? Instead of fx, we can have minus x times sine x. Is this one smaller than x to the power 4 divided by 6 minus x squared? And here, if we find one situation, it means if we find, for example, the situation for the sine x, then we can find the situation for the minus x sine x. Am I right or not? Listen. If we find the situation for sine x. Now how we can find the situation for sine x? It means we have to divide both sides with the minus x. Now minus x sine x is divided by minus x, and this one becomes greater x to the power 4 divided by 6 minus x squared divided by minus x. Am I right? Or we can write it x to the power 4 divided by minus x. Minus x squared divided by minus x. Now we can cancel this one. We will find the situation sine x is greater, and we have this one minus x to the power 3 divided by 6 minus minus, we have plus, and x squared divided by x, it's I think x. Am I right? Now it means that sine x is greater than what? Than x minus x squared x to the power 3 divided by 6. We have this one. Now if we have this inequality, can we find this inequality? Yes. From this inequality we have sine x is greater than x minus x to the power 3 divided by 6. Now I will multiply minus x on both sides, and you know that minus x is a negative number. Why? Because 0 to pi we have positive numbers, but this minus with the positive number, it's become negative number. I mean itself x is not negative. Now this is minus x sine x, this one changed, and this one we have minus x squared, this minus minus plus x to the power 4 divided by 6, and this one I think it is fx. Smaller than, I will write this one first, x to the power 4 divided by 6 minus x squared. It means we found this situation which satisfies. From where? From 0 to pi. So number 2 answer is the correct one. Write it please. Okay, we will come on the Number 3 solution. There exists alpha which includes from 0 to pi in an open interval such that f prime of alpha is 0. What does it mean? It means we should first take the derivative of the fx. Listen. It's asked f prime of alpha is 0. First we have to get the derivative of the function. F prime of x is uv. So minus, what's the derivative of the x? It's 1 times sine x plus the derivative of the sine, cosine, time with the x cosine x. And we will have f prime x is minus sine x and minus x cosine x. Now f prime of alpha is 0. What does it mean? It means alpha is a solution for the function of fx, which the equation of this solution has got an answer and its answer is 0. It means first we should make the equation for this one. What's the equation? Minus sine x minus x cosine x is equal to 0. How can you find the solution? I think I will put this minus sine x to the right side. It would be sine x is equal to minus x cosine x, and I will divide both sides with the cosine x, so it will be sine divided by cosine, it's tangent x, is equal to minus x. Now we have this one. This is an equation. Now what's asked? That the solution of this equation is between 0 to pi. We cannot include 0. Why? Because it is an open interval, and I cannot take the pi. Why? Because it's an open interval. Although 0 satisfies this equation. If you put instead of x 0, tangent 0 is 0. Tangent 0 is 0. And minus, instead of x you should put 0. And 0 with the 0 it's equal. 0 satisfies this equation. But the solution is not 0. Why? Because it's an open interval. Now there should be another answer between 0 to pi. How can you find the solution? Whenever you are not able to find the solution of an equation, I think the best way is to plot its graph. Now you should find this graph, you should find this graph. And what does equation means? Equation we call in algebra, but in graph equation, what does equation means? Equation means finding the solution which satisfy the equation. But according to the trigonometry and also according to geometry, equation means intersection of the graph. Equation, it means intersection of the graph. What does it mean? It means first you should find this graph and also this graph and look where they intersect with each other. How can you plot the graph of tangent x? I think tangent x, this is minus pi divided by 2, this is 0, this is pi divided by 2, this is pi, and also we have this one 3 pi 2. Now this is the graph of the tangent x. But in this question it's asked the interval is 0 to pi. It means you have to erase this part of the graph. From where? From 0 to pi to this part. And we cannot include pi and we cannot include 0. It means delete this part. So the graph of the tangent from 0 to pi, we have this graph. Now, how can you find the graph of minus x? I think minus x, this is a straight line which have the second region and with the fourth. It means this is the graph of the what? Of the minus x. It is a straight line which have the what? The second region and also fourth region. Now the graph should be plotted from 0 to pi. It means you have to delete this part, and you cannot include 0. And also the graph should be up to where? Up to pi. Now, what does equation mean? Equation mean intersection of the graph. Now, this minus x with the tangent, does it have any intersection? Yes, it has got two intersections. First one, this one, and number second is this one. The first one is not the correct one. Why? Because 0 is not included in this interval. So we have another intersection, and this intersection, it means solution of the equation. Solution of the what? Of the equation. Now tangent x is equal to minus x. Do we have any solution for this one from 0 to pi? Yes, we have this one. So it means this answer satisfies this equation. So number 3 is the correct one. I think you have got. Write it. We will come on the number 4. By the way, we are coming to the last number. If 2 prime of pi divided by 2 with this one, the addition is 0. First, we should find the second derivative of the function. In number 4, we have f 2 prime of pi 2 plus f pi divided by 2 is 0. First, you have to find the second derivative of the function. What's the first derivative? It's fx. We found this one, minus sine x minus x cosine x. Am I right or no? Now the second derivative, f second prime of the x is minus the derivative of the sine, it's cosine x, minus, this is uv case. Then we have x prime, it's 1 times cosine x plus cosine prime, it's minus sine x minus sine x times x sine x, and this plus with this negative, it's minus. Now we have f second prime of x is minus cosine x and minus minus plus x sine x. we have f second prime of the x is minus cosine minus 2 cosine x plus x sine x. Am I right or not? Now we have this f second prime. Now we have to put pi divided by 2. F second prime pi divided by 2 is minus 2 cosine pi divided by 2 plus pi divided by 2 times sine pi divided by 2. It's f second prime. It is, this one is 0 plus pi divided by 2 and sine pi 2 is 1. Now it is pi divided by 2. Second, we will find in number second, we will find this one, f pi divided by 2. We have to put this pi divided by 2 in function fx minus pi divided by 2 times sine pi divided by 2. It is f pi divided by 2 is equal minus pi divided by 2 and sine pi 2 is 1. So the solution is minus pi divided by 2. What is asked? F second prime of pi divided by 2 plus f pi divided by 2, the solution is 0. What do we have this solution? Pi divided by 2 plus, what's the solution of this one? It's minus pi divided by 2. Is this one equal to 0? Yes, this is 0. It means this situation is also right. So we have in this weak question 3 answers, number 2, number 3, number 4. They were right and the first one was wrong. I think you have got. By the way, it was our this week question. We will see inshallah. Allah Hafiz.